The darkness of space stretched endlessly around Zara Thompson's small scout ship. Her fingers tapped nervously against the control panel, a habit she'd developed during her 3 months in the Earth Defense Force. At 18, she was the youngest pilot in her squadron, constantly trying to prove herself. The ship's navigation system hummed softly, displaying the vast emptiness of the Epsilon Quadrant. Most rookie soldiers found these long patrol shifts boring, but not Zara. Her deep brown eyes scanned the holographic displays with a focus that belied her young age. She had something to prove, to her commanders, to her family, and most importantly, to herself. Suddenly, a sharp alarm pierced the quiet of the cockpit. Red warning lights began to flash across her screens. Something was happening. Incoming distress signal, the ship's AI announced in its calm, metallic voice. Source: unknown vessel. Multiple threat signatures detected. Zara leaned forward, her heart racing. This was not a standard patrol scenario. The sensor readings showed chaos, a smaller vessel surrounded by multiple aggressive ships. Their attack patterns were unmistakable. These were Krell Raiders, a mercenary species notorious throughout the galaxy for their brutal slave-trading operations. Her training manual was crystal clear. Standard protocol demanded she maintain her patrol route and report the incident to command. Do not engage. Do not intervene. Wait for backup. But Zara saw something in those sensor readings that made her blood boil. The smaller vessel was clearly outmatched. Its shields were failing, weapons almost completely disabled. Those aboard would be dead or captured within minutes. Command won't even receive the report for another 20 minutes, she muttered to herself. By then, it'll be too late. In that moment, Zara made a decision that would change everything. Her hands moved with a combination of trained precision and raw instinct. She redirected her ship's power, diverted energy to weapons and shields, and plotted an intercept course. The Krell Raiders were professional killers, used to easy prey. They didn't expect a single Earth Defense Force scout to challenge them. As Zara's ship approached, she activated her most aggressive combat protocols. Her ship might be small, but it was equipped with the latest Earth military technology. This is Scout Ship Delta 97. She transmitted on all frequencies. Cease your attack immediately. The Krell Raiders' response was a barrage of weapon fire. Emerald energy beams crisscrossed the darkness of space, each blast powerful enough to obliterate a small vessel. But Zara was ready. Her fingers danced across the controls, and her ship became a blur of motion. She had trained for this. Simulations were one thing, but this was real. Each movement was calculated, each defensive maneuver precise. The Krell weren't used to prey that fought back, especially not from a ship piloted by someone who looked barely old enough to be in military service. One Krell Raider ship exploded, then another. Zara's tactical display showed her taking damage, but she pushed forward. Her ship's AI continuously calculated odds and suggested retreat. She ignored it. Something fundamental drove her. It wasn't just about following orders or military pride. It was about protecting those who couldn't protect themselves. Something in those sensor readings spoke to her. A desperation. A plea for help that transcended species and protocol. As the last Krell ship began to break formation, Zara allowed herself a brief moment of relief. But her mission wasn't over. The damaged vessel was still out there, and she needed to know if anyone had survived. Unidentified vessel, she transmitted, her voice steady despite the adrenaline coursing through her. This is Earth Defense Force. Do you require assistance? The damaged alien vessel drifted silently against the starry backdrop. Its hull was scarred with burn marks and deep gashes from the recent battle. Zara's scout ship approached carefully, scanning for any signs of life. Life signs detected. Her ship's AI reported 3 biological entities. Vital signs, weak but stable. Zara's hands moved quickly, preparing for potential first contact. She had received basic xenobiology training, but nothing could truly prepare her for this moment. The communication systems flickered to life, translating unknown signals into something her system could understand. A holographic display materialized in the cockpit. 3 figures appeared, distinctly feminine, but clearly not human. They looked similar to humans, but with subtle differences. Pale lavender skin, large almond-shaped eyes that seemed to shimmer with an inner light, and delicate bone structures that suggested a completely different evolutionary path. The middle figure spoke first. Her voice came through the translator with a musical quality, despite the obvious pain and exhaustion. "I am Sara of the Lyrian Diplomatic Corps," she said. We thought we were finished." Zara noticed how the 3 held on to each other. Sisters, she realized. Not just crew members, but family. They were young, probably not much older than she was. Their elaborate ceremonial clothing was torn and burned, telling a story of a journey gone terribly wrong. "I'm Zora Thompson, Earth Defense Force," she responded. "Are you injured? Do you need medical assistance?" The one called Sara looked suspicious. Zara could see the fear in her eyes, the kind of deep-seated terror that comes from repeated trauma. The Lyrian's hand moved protectively in front of her 2 companions. "Why did you help us?" Sara asked. Her translator carried a note of challenge. "Humans are not known for interfering in galactic conflicts." Zara didn't have a prepared answer. She had acted on instinct, on a core belief that leaving someone to die was wrong. "I saw you were in trouble," she said simply. "I could help, so I did." The other 2 Lyrian sisters, Lyra and Mira, began to examine their surroundings. Their movements were careful, almost bird-like. Zara could see they were wounded, but their eyes were alert and intelligent. "The Krell hunt us," Lyra said suddenly. Her voice was softer, filled with a mix of fear and determination. "They have been hunting our people for cycles. We are the last of our diplomatic mission." Mira, the youngest, looked directly at Zara. Her eyes seemed to look through her, rather than at her. "You saved us," she said. It wasn't a question, but a statement of fact. The translation matrix worked overtime, converting not just words but attempting to capture the nuanced emotions behind them. Zara could see there was more to their story, layers of complexity that went far beyond a simple space rescue. "We need to get you medical treatment," Zara said, switching to practical mode. "My ship has basic medical facilities. It's not much, but it's better than what you have now." Zara hesitated. Years of running, of being hunted, had taught her to be cautious. But something in Zara's demeanor, her youth, her straightforward honesty, seemed to break through those defenses. "Tell me," Zara said, "do you know anything about the political situation in the Outer Rim?" Zara shook her head. Her military training covered basic galactic geography, but she was no diplomat. A strange smile crossed Zara's face. "Then we have much to discuss," she said. "And perhaps you have just changed the course of history." The medical bay of Zara's scout ship was cramped but functional. Sara, Lyra, and Mira sat huddled together, their wounds carefully treated by the ship's automated medical system. Zara watched them carefully, brewing a simple nutrient drink she hoped would be universal enough for alien physiology. "Our people are dying," Sara began, her voice low and intense. "The Krell are just the beginning of a much larger threat." Zora placed the drinks on the small fold-out table. Her military training had taught her to listen carefully, to process information without immediate judgment. "Tell me everything," she said. Zora's story unfolded like a nightmare. The Lyrian civilization, once a powerful diplomatic force in the galaxy, had been systematically targeted by a coalition of species. Their crime: refusing to participate in a massive power grab that would subjugate multiple planetary systems. "They want to prevent any single species from becoming too powerful," Lyra explained. Her fingers traced intricate patterns on the table. A nervous habit, Zara realized. Humans are considered a potential threat. Mira, who had been silent until now, spoke up. "Your species adapts too quickly. You learn. You grow. The other species fear what humans might become. Zara felt a chill run down her spine. This was far beyond any briefing she'd ever received. What kind of threat are we talking about? Zara pulled out a small data crystal. It projected a holographic map that filled the small medical bay. Red zones indicated potential invasion routes. Blue markers showed Earth's current known space territories. But between them, a complex web of strategic points told a story of an impending massive assault. A coordinated attack, Zara said, designed to look like multiple independent conflicts. Your planet would be overwhelmed before Earth's military could even understand what was happening. The map showed at least 7 different alien species working in a carefully orchestrated plan. Each had a specific role. Some would create diversionary conflicts, others would target critical infrastructure, while a core group would launch a direct assault on Earth's primary defense systems. Why are you telling me this? Zara asked. She was just a young soldier on a routine patrol. This was the kind of information that should go directly to high command. Lyra leaned forward. Because you're the only one who listened. The only one who chose to help when it would have been easier to ignore us. Mira's eyes seemed to glow with an inner light. Humans have something the other species lack. Compassion. Unpredictability. A willingness to act when logic suggests retreat. Zara understood the risk she was taking. Going rogue with this information could end her military career. But the detailed intelligence before her was too important to ignore. I need to prove this is real, she said. Her fingers already moved across the ship's communication systems, beginning to compile the data. My commanders will need more than just a story. Zara smiled, the first genuine smile Zara had seen from her. Then we work together, she said, a human soldier and 3 refugee diplomats. An unlikely team against a galactic conspiracy. Outside the ship's small window, stars continued their silent march. But inside, something extraordinary was beginning. A plan was forming, not of military might, but of unexpected cooperation, of breaking through the barriers that separated species. Zara looked at her new allies. She was 18 years old, on a small scout ship, about to challenge an entire galactic power structure. And for the first time since joining the Earth Defense Force, she felt truly alive. Let's get to work, she said. The small scout ship became a mobile command center. Star charts, intercepted communications, and complex data streams covered every available screen. Zara's fingers flew across the holographic interfaces, her young face etched with concentration. Zara watched her with growing respect. Most experienced diplomats would struggle with this level of information processing, she commented. Lyra was busy decoding encrypted transmissions, her slender fingers moving with surprising speed. The Coalition believes humans are a potential genetic wildcard, she explained. Your species adapts too quickly. You learn and evolve faster than any other known civilization. Nira, the most intuitive of the sisters, pointed to a specific star cluster. Here, this is where the first wave of the invasion will begin. They'll create a series of small conflicts to draw Earth's attention away from the real threat. Zara zoomed in on the star cluster. Military training kicked in, her mind breaking down the strategic implications. They're planning to use proxy conflicts to spread our defense forces thin, she muttered. Classic misdirection tactics. The ship's communication system crackled. An encrypted message came through, something Tara recognized immediately. Her face went pale. This is worse than we thought, she said, her voice trembling. They've already infiltrated multiple human communication networks. Our mission just became critical. The holographic display changed. Layers of information revealed a complex web of political manipulation. At least 9 different alien species were involved, each playing a specific role in the planned assault. Some would create economic disruptions, others would target communication satellites, and a core group would launch a direct military strike. Why? Zara asked. Why go to such lengths to prevent human expansion? Lyra's response was measured. Humans represent an unknown variable. Your technological progress is exponential. In the last 100 years, you've advanced more than most species do in 1,000. Mira added, her eyes distant. You don't follow the traditional rules of galactic diplomacy. You act on emotion, on instinct. That makes you unpredictable. Zara understood now. They weren't just planning an invasion. This was an attempt to prevent a potential future threat. Humanity was being judged not for what it was, but for what it could become. The ship's systems detected an incoming transmission. Zara's military training made her cautious. It could be a trap, she warned. Zara's hands moved quickly, applying layers of protective encryption. We need information, she said. Sometimes, the risk is worth it. The message came through. It was fragmented, partially corrupted, but what they could read sent a chill through the small ship. Coordinates, invasion timelines, specific details about Earth's defense systems. This is a warning, Sarah said. Someone inside the coalition wants us to know. Zara looked at the 3 alien sisters. They were no longer just refugees. They were her allies, her friends. We need a plan, she said, and we need to move fast. Outside the ship's window, stars continued their silent dance. But inside, a small group of unlikely heroes was preparing to change the course of galactic history. The invasion was coming, and they would be ready. The small scout ship became a mobile command center. Star charts, intercepted communications, and complex data streams covered every available screen. Zara's fingers flew across the holographic interfaces, her young face etched with concentration. Zara watched her with growing respect. Most experienced diplomats would struggle with this level of information processing. She commented. Lyra was busy decoding encrypted transmissions, her slender fingers moving with surprising speed. The Coalition believes humans are a potential genetic wildcard, she explained. Your species adapts too quickly. You learn and evolve faster than any other known civilization. Mira, the most intuitive of the sisters, pointed to a specific star cluster. Here, this is where the first wave of the invasion will begin. They'll create a series of small conflicts to draw Earth's attention away from the real threat. Zara zoomed in on the star cluster. Military training kicked in, her mind breaking down the strategic implications. They're planning to use proxy conflicts to spread our defense forces thin, she muttered. Classic misdirection tactics. The ship's communication system crackled. An encrypted message came through, something Zara recognized immediately. Her face went pale. This is worse than we thought, she said, her voice trembling. They've already infiltrated multiple human communication networks. Our mission just became critical. The holographic display changed. Layers of information revealed a complex web of political manipulation. At least 9 different alien species were involved, each playing a specific role in the planned assault. Some would create economic disruptions, others would target communication satellites, and a core group would launch a direct military strike. Why? Zara asked. Why go to such lengths to prevent human expansion? Lyra's response was measured. Humans represent an unknown variable. Your technological progress is exponential. In the last 100 years, you've advanced more than most species do in 1,000. Mira added, her eyes distant. You don't follow the traditional rules of galactic diplomacy. You act on emotion, on instinct. That makes you unpredictable. Zara understood now. They weren't just planning an invasion. This was an attempt to prevent a potential future threat. Humanity was being judged not for what it was, but for what it could become. The ship's systems detected an incoming transmission. Zara's military training made her cautious. It could be a trap, she warned. Zara's hands moved quickly, applying layers of protective encryption. We need information, she said. Sometimes, the risk is worth it. The message came through. It was fragmented, partially corrupted, but what they could read sent a chill through the small ship. Coordinates, invasion timelines, specific details about Earth's defense systems. This is a warning, Sarah said. Someone inside the coalition wants us to know. Zara looked at the three alien sisters. They were no longer just refugees. They were her allies, her friends. "We need a plan," she said, "and we need to move fast." Outside the ship's window, stars continued their silent dance. But inside, a small group of unlikely heroes was preparing to change the course of galactic history. The invasion was coming, and they would be ready. Alarms blared across multiple communication networks. The carefully constructed invasion plan was falling apart, but not in the way anyone had expected. Zara and the Lyrian sisters watched from their small scout ship as the first wave of the alien coalition's strategy began to unravel. "They don't understand what's happening," Zara said, her fingers dancing across the holographic displays. "Our modifications are causing complete communication breakdown." Lyra pointed to a series of flickering signals. "Look, they're turning on each other. The invasion plan is self-destructing." Zara's military training had prepared her for complex scenarios, but nothing could have predicted this level of strategic chaos. What they had created was more than a defense mechanism. It was a complete systemic disruption. Suddenly, a massive energy signature appeared on their scanners. Something big was coming. "Incoming vessel," the ship's AI announced. Size: significantly larger than standard combat ships. Origin: unknown. Mira's eyes went wide. "It's a command ship," she whispered. "The central coordination point for the entire invasion plan." The massive vessel appeared like a dark shadow against the starfield. Its design was angular, threatening, a perfect representation of the cold, calculated invasion strategy. But something was wrong. Internal communication signals were fragmenting, showing signs of complete internal conflict. "They're fighting each other," Zara realized. "Our system is making them question their own allies." Zara looked at her with a mix of respect and something close to fear. "Humans are more dangerous than we thought," she said. "You don't just defend. You transform the entire battlefield." The command ship began to break apart, not from external attack, but from internal confusion. Their perfectly planned invasion was collapsing from within. Lyra pulled up a communication intercept. Fragments of panicked messages scrolled across the screen. Different species blaming each other, accusing each other of betrayal. The perfect alliance was crumbling. "We didn't destroy them," Mira said softly. "We made them destroy themselves." Zara understood the profound nature of what they had accomplished. This wasn't about military might. This was about understanding. About seeing the weaknesses in a system that relied on absolute control. The scout ship's systems highlighted multiple conflict points. What had started as a unified invasion plan was now a series of isolated, confused engagements. The alien coalition was tearing itself apart. "They feared what humans might become," Zara explained. "And in trying to prevent that future, they created exactly what they were afraid of." A massive energy pulse erupted from the command ship. For a moment, it looked like it might recover, might still pose a threat. But then it began to break apart, system by system, like a complex machine suddenly losing all coherence. Zara looked at her unlikely allies, three alien sisters who had become more than just survivors. They had become revolutionaries. "We're not done," she said. Her voice carried the certainty of youth, the determination of someone who didn't yet understand the meaning of impossible. The Lyrian sisters nodded. Their mission had changed. They were no longer just saving themselves. They were changing the entire understanding of galactic conflict. Outside, the broken pieces of the command ship drifted silently. Inside the small scout ship, a new kind of strategy was being born. Humanity's true potential was just beginning to show itself. The scout ship's communication systems worked overtime. Intercepted messages revealed the full scale of the planned invasion against Earth. What had started as a theoretical threat was now a terrifyingly real possibility. They'd been planning this for decades, Zara explained, her fingers tracing holographic star charts. Multiple species working in perfect synchronization to prevent human expansion. Lyra pulled up complex diplomatic records. "Your species represents something they cannot control," she said to Zara. "Unpredictability, rapid adaptation, emotional intelligence that defies logical prediction." Zara studied the invasion maps. Military training had taught her to see beyond the obvious. Each invasion point was carefully calculated, each strategic move precisely timed. But they had missed one crucial element: human resilience. Mira's intuitive systems began correlating data. "Look," she said softly. The invasion wasn't just about military conquest. It was about fear. The holographic display transformed. What looked like a military strategy revealed a deeper, more complex narrative. The alien species weren't just planning an attack. They were trying to prevent a future they couldn't understand. "Humans learn too quickly," Sarah explained. "In just 200 years, you've advanced technologically more than most species do in thousands of years. They see you as a potential threat to the entire galactic balance." Zara's mind raced. Military protocols, diplomatic understanding, and pure human intuition merged into a single strategy. "We need to show them we're not a threat," she said. "We need to prove our intention is cooperation, not conquest." The scout ship systems continued intercepting communications. Each message revealed another layer of the complex galactic conspiracy. Species that had never worked together before were now united in one goal: stopping humanity's potential expansion. Lyra highlighted a critical communication network. "This is how they're coordinating," she said. "A quantum communication grid that connects multiple species instantaneously." Mira's fingers moved quickly. Her alien technology began to interface with their modified communication systems. "We can use this," she said, "not to destroy, but to communicate." Zara understood immediately. This wasn't about winning a war. This was about changing perception. The ship's systems began preparing a massive communication burst. Not a weapon, not an attack, but a message. A demonstration of humanity's true potential. "We show them who we really are," Zara said. Her voice carried the conviction of youth, the understanding that sometimes the most powerful weapon is communication. The Lyrian sisters watched her with a mix of fascination and respect. This young human soldier represented something entirely new, an approach to conflict that didn't rely on destruction, but on understanding. Outside the ship's window, stars continued their silent journey. Inside, a revolution was brewing. Not a revolution of weapons, but of perception. Sarah looked at Zara. "Are you ready?" she asked. Zara's smile was both a military response and a promise. "Let's change the galaxy," she said. The communication systems hummed to life. Quantum networks began to pulse with an unprecedented message. Not a threat, not a declaration of war, but an invitation to understand. Humanity's first true diplomatic mission was about to begin. Led by an 18-year-old soldier and 3 alien sisters who had discovered something more powerful than conflict. Understanding. What began as a carefully planned invasion was now transforming into something no one had predicted. Zara's message, crafted with the help of the Lyrian sisters, spread across quantum communication channels faster than any weapon could travel. It wasn't a declaration of war. It wasn't a threat. It was an invitation. "We don't want to conquer," Zara had recorded. Her young face showed no fear, only genuine hope. "We want to understand. We want to learn. We want to grow together." Sarah watched the transmission spread. "They've never seen anything like this," she whispered. "A species responding to a potential threat with openness instead of aggression." Lyra's advanced communication systems tracked the message's impact. Entire alien networks began to shift. Confusion replaced fear. Curiosity began to override aggression. Mira's intuitive abilities picked up the subtle changes in communication patterns. "They're listening," she said. "Really listening." The scout ship became the epicenter of a communication revolution. What had started as a rescue mission was now rewriting galactic diplomatic understanding. Military command centers across multiple species began to receive the transmission. Zara's message cut through years of carefully constructed fear and prejudice. She spoke of human potential not as a threat, but as a possibility for collective growth. We are young as a space-faring civilization. Her message continued. But we are eager to learn. We don't want to replace. We want to collaborate. Alien species that had been preparing for war now found themselves in unexpected dialogue. The invasion plans crumbled not through military might, but through understanding. The Lyrian sisters watched in amazement. Zara represented something entirely new, a diplomatic approach that defied all existing galactic protocols. Communication networks lit up, not with weapon signatures, but with questions, with curiosity, with the first tentative steps towards genuine understanding. They see us, Tara said softly, not as a threat, but as potential. Zora's military training had prepared her for conflict, but her human spirit prepared her for something far more powerful: connection. The scout ship's systems continued to process the global response. What had seemed impossible just hours ago was now becoming reality. The planned invasion was transforming into a potential alliance. Lyra pulled up communication graphs. "Look," she said, "the fear is changing. They're seeing humans differently." Mira's intuitive systems showed the deeper transformation. It wasn't just about stopping a war. It was about creating a new way of understanding between species. "We didn't fight," Zara said, looking at her alien companions. "We communicated." The Lyrian sisters represented civilizations on the brink of destruction. Zara represented a species often misunderstood. Together, they had done the impossible. Outside the ship's window, stars continued their eternal dance. But something had changed. The universe felt different, more connected, more hopeful. "What now?" Zara asked. Zara's smile was both a military response and a promise of future possibilities. "Now," she said, "we build something new." The scout ship continued its journey, but it was no longer just a small vessel in a vast universe. It had become a symbol of something greater, of how understanding could be more powerful than any weapon, of how youth could change the course of galactic history, of how compassion could transform fear into opportunity. Humanity's true journey was just beginning.